The waters of the Jordan were still dripping from his garments. The heavens had just opened. A voice had declared identity. A mission had begun. And immediately, he was led into the wilderness. Not toward applause. Not toward celebration. Toward isolation. This is Jesus Christ, not surrounded by crowds, but walking alone into barren land. Desert 40 days of silence. The desert is merciless. Blazing sun by day. Freezing cold by night. Wind cutting like invisible knives. 40 days. No bread. No comfort. No human voice. Hunger gnaws at his body. Weakness presses in. Yet his spirit remains steady. This is not accidental suffering. This is preparation. New moon, the adversary appears. When the body is weakest. When silence feels heaviest. The tempter comes. Not with horns and flames. Not with obvious evil. But with subtle suggestion. This is the ancient adversary. Satan. He waits until the hunger is sharp. Until exhaustion blurs clarity. Then he speaks. Bread first temptation, survival. If you are the Son of God, turn these stones into bread. It sounds reasonable. You are hungry. You have power. Why suffer unnecessarily? But the challenge is deeper than food. It questions identity. If you are, Jesus answers calmly. Man shall not live by bread alone. Provision does not define purpose. Trust does. Classical building's second temptation, recognition. In a moment, he is shown the pinnacle of the temple in Jerusalem. Below, crowds move through the holy city. Jump, the tempter says. Let angels catch you. Prove who you are. Public spectacle. Instant validation. A dramatic beginning. But faith is not performance. Jesus responds. Do not test the Lord your God. Trust does not demand proof. Crown third temptation, power. Now the offer becomes bold. All kingdoms of the world are displayed glory, authority, influence. All this I will give you. If you bow. No cross. No suffering. No rejection. Just immediate power. But it requires worship misplaced. Jesus stands firm. Worship the Lord your God, and serve him only. No shortcuts. No compromise. Sunrise, the tempter withdraws. Silence returns. The adversary leaves, waiting for another opportunity. Angels come and minister. Strength returns. The test has ended. Where humanity once fell in a garden, he has stood firm in a desert. Dizzy why this moment matters. This battle was unseen by crowds. Unrecorded by empires. Unknown to the world. Yet it shaped everything that followed. Because before teaching others, before healing, before confronting injustice, he confronted temptation. Victory in private prepared him for impact in public. Sunrise over mountains, the ministry begins. He leaves the wilderness not weakened, but resolved. Soon fishermen will leave their nets. Storms will obey his voice. Crowds will gather. But it all begins here. In hunger. In silence. In obedience. The crowds are growing. Every village whispers his name. Every healing spreads faster than the last. But not everyone believes. Some are curious. Some are desperate. Some are watching, waiting to accuse. And then comes a night that will test everything. Sailboat, the storm on the sea. Evening falls over the Sea of Galilee. The sky turns purple. The air grows heavy. Jesus Christ and his disciples step into a boat. Let us go to the other side. Simple words. But the sea has other plans. Cloud with lightning, chaos erupts. Without warning, the wind howls. Waves rise like dark mountains. Water crashes over the sides. The boat groans under pressure. These are experienced fishermen, men who know storms. Yet fear grips their faces. They fight the wind. Bail water desperately. And where is Jesus? Asleep. On a cushion. In the middle of chaos. Fearful face, panic and power. They shake him awake. Teacher! Don't you care if we drown? The wind screams. The boat tilts violently. Jesus stands. No panic. No fear. He faces the storm and speaks just 3 words. Peace. Be still. Instantly. The wind stops. The waves flatten. The sea becomes glass. The silence after the storm is louder than the storm itself. The disciples stare at him in terror and awe. Who is this, that even the wind and waves obey him? Nature itself has recognized authority. Water wave, a darker night. Later, another night. The disciples are again on the water. But this time, Jesus remains on land. Wind fights against them. Hours pass. They strain at the oars. Then, in the distance, a figure. Walking. Not on the shore. On the water. Fear explodes in the boat. It's a ghost. But a voice carries across the wind. Take courage. It is I. Do not be afraid. Person walking toward the impossible. Among the disciples is Peter. Impulsive. Bold. Lord, if it's you, tell me to come to you on the water. Jesus answers with 1 word. Come. Peter steps out. Foot meets water. And does not sink. He walks toward the impossible. Toward Jesus. But then, he notices the wind. The waves. Doubt enters. Fear grows. And he begins to sink. Lord, save me. Immediately, Jesus reaches out and catches him. Why did you doubt? They climb into the boat. The wind dies. Again. The disciples bow. Truly you are the Son of God. Dizzy what these moments reveal. Storms obey him. Water holds him. Fear retreats before him. Yet these miracles are not only about power. They are about trust. In the storm, he is present. On the waves, he is reachable. In the doubt, he still extends his hand. Sunrise, the calm after. The boat drifts gently under a quiet sky. But something inside the disciples has changed forever. They are no longer just following a teacher. They are witnessing something divine. And the journey is only becoming more intense. If you want the next powerful part, I can give. For billions of years, the universe expanded in silence. Stars were born. Galaxies collided. Black holes consumed light itself. And through all of it, reality followed its rules. Unbreakable. Unquestioned. Absolute. Until humanity stepped beyond it. After crossing the boundary of the known universe, after discovering that their cosmos was only a contained developmental layer inside a far greater metastructure, humans faced an even more terrifying revelation. The greater reality was unstable. Not collapsing. Not dying. But incomplete. The entities that had welcomed humanity beyond the cosmic cradle were ancient, not in years, but in layers of existence. They did not speak with voices. They communicated in frameworks. And what they revealed changed everything. Every universe, they explained, eventually reaches saturation. Maximum complexity. Maximum entropy distribution. Maximum informational density. When that point arrives, expansion slows. Creation plateaus. Possibility narrows. Civilizations that survive long enough eventually face the same challenge. Not how to live inside reality, but how to create a new one. Humanity had assumed they were explorers. They were wrong. They were candidates. The ancient beings did not rule existence. They maintained it. Across the metacosmos, entire universes were being born, evolving, stabilizing, or failing. Some collapsed under chaotic physical laws. Some expanded too quickly for matter to form. Some never allowed life at all. The work of sustaining infinity required constant architectural intervention. And for the first time in cosmic history, a young civilization from inside a contained universe had successfully exited its sandbox without destroying it. Humanity had demonstrated balance. Curiosity without annihilation. Power without immediate corruption. So they were offered something unprecedented. The chance to design a universe. Not simulate one. Not observe one. Create one. The proposal fractured human thought. Some called it blasphemy. Some called it destiny. Some called it suicide on a cosmic scale. Because designing a universe meant choosing its laws. How strong would gravity be? Would time move linearly? Would entropy exist? Would suffering be possible? Every parameter mattered. Too stable, nothing changes. Too chaotic, nothing survives. For decades, humanity studied failed universes archived within the metacosmos. They observed realities where light moved too slowly for stars to ignite. Universes where dark energy tore matter apart seconds after creation. Realities where intelligence evolved instantly and consumed itself just as fast. Each failure was a lesson. Finally, humanity made a decision. They would not design perfection. They would design potential. A universe where complexity could grow gradually. Where struggle existed, but not inevitability of doom. Where life could emerge, adapt, question, and eventually transcend. The construction process defied language. Using frameworks provided by the ancient architects, humanity condensed raw meta-energy into a singularity seed, a controlled genesis point. It was smaller than an atom, yet contained equations capable of birthing galaxies. When activation began, there was no explosion. No dramatic flash. Instead, inside a stabilized containment field, spacetime began unfolding from nothing. Dimensions expanded. Constants locked into place. Quantum fields crystallized. And within moments, a newborn universe existed. Tiny at first, microscopic compared to its parent layer. But expanding. Alive with possibility. Humanity watched as the first particles formed. Then atoms. Then hydrogen clouds. Millions of years passed inside the newborn cosmos within minutes from the outside perspective. Stars ignited like sparks in darkness. Galaxies spiraled into shape. It worked. For the first time, humanity was not inside reality. They were outside it. Observers. Designers. Architects. But something unexpected began happening. Within the simulation feeds, early planetary systems began forming at rates slightly faster than predicted. Statistical anomalies appeared. Fluctuations not coded into the initial conditions. At first, scientists assumed calculation error. Then they noticed patterns. Random quantum variations were aligning into complex structures earlier than physics alone would suggest. In other words, the universe was improvising. The ancient entities reacted immediately. They transmitted a warning framework. Emergent deviation detected. Humanity faced an unanticipated truth. Once a universe begins, it is no longer fully controllable. Creation implies independence. If life emerged inside this new cosmos, it would evolve according to its own trajectory. It might discover physics. It might discover the limits. It might eventually discover its creators. The cycle could repeat. Some human leaders proposed intervention, fine-tuning constants mid-expansion to maintain safety. But others argued that doing so would undermine the entire purpose. If they over-controlled it, they would become tyrants of existence. After intense deliberation, humanity made its boldest choice yet. They stepped back. No forced corrections. No mid-course edits. No divine manipulation. They would monitor. They would protect against catastrophic collapse. But they would not dictate destiny. Billions of simulated years unfolded. Complex chemistry emerged. Primitive life flickered into being on distant worlds. Evolution began its slow, relentless climb. And as humanity watched the first sentient signals appear inside their created cosmos, something profound settled over them. They understood. This is how it always begins. Not with control, but with curiosity. One day, millions or billions of years from now, a civilization inside that universe would look up at its stars and ask, "Why are we here? What created all of this? And most importantly, can it be changed?" When that day comes, humanity will face the same choice the ancient architects once faced with them. Reveal the greater layers. Or allow growth to continue naturally. Infinity is not a straight line. It is a staircase. Each civilization climbs, then becomes the foundation for the next. And somewhere, far beyond even the architects, beyond the metacosmos itself, there may be another layer. Another creator. Another beginning. Because existence does not end. It escalates. And humanity, once a fragile species staring at the night sky from a single planet, had become something unimaginable. Not rulers of reality. Not gods. But responsible participants in an endless chain of creation. The architects of infinity. For ages beyond counting, humanity had climbed. From Earth to the stars. Beyond the galaxy. Beyond their universe. Beyond the metacosmos. They became architects. They became guardians. They became creators of universes. They thought there was nothing left to discover. They were wrong. Because even infinity has a foundation. And one day, they found it. It began as a silence. Not absence of sound. Absence of structure. While mapping the deepest layers beyond the architect realms, human explorers detected something impossible, a region where mathematics itself stopped behaving consistently. Constants dissolved. Dimensions lost orientation. Causality failed. At first, it looked like corruption in the underlying meta-framework. But the anomaly did not spread. It did not collapse. It simply existed. A boundary without edges. When long-range perception arrays focused on it, data returned as zero. Not empty. Zero. As if existence itself divided by something, and vanished. They called it the pre-field. The layer before structure. Before energy. Before time. No entity, not even the ancient architects, had ever crossed into it. Because doing so required something unprecedented. To enter the pre-field, you could not carry mass. You could not carry energy. You could not even carry space-time coordinates. You had to detach from existence itself. For the first time in their cosmic history, humanity faced a challenge not of engineering, but of identity. How do you step outside being? The solution was radical. Humanity no longer relied solely on physical form. Over eons, they had evolved into distributed consciousness networks, minds capable of operating across dimensions. But the pre-field required something further. They had to compress awareness into pure informational potential. Not a body. Not energy. Not thought as they knew it. Just the capacity to observe. A single human volunteer emerged. Not the strongest. Not the most powerful. But the most stable. A consciousness capable of dissolving attachment to structure. The transition process was irreversible. Once detached, return was uncertain. The final recorded words before separation were simple. If there is something before everything, we deserve to understand it. And then, the signal vanished. From the outside, nothing changed. But inside the pre-field, the volunteer experienced something no mind had ever processed. There was no darkness. Darkness implies space. There was no silence. Silence implies time. There was no self. Because self requires contrast. Instead, there was pure potential. Not chaos. Not order. Possibility without direction. Then, something shifted. A fluctuation. Tiny. Subtle. A difference between nothing and almost nothing. And in that microscopic imbalance, the volunteer understood the ultimate truth. Existence was not created. It was triggered. The pre-field was not a place. It was a state of unstable equilibrium. Every universe. Every layer. Every infinite structure. They were not designed from above. They emerged when potential tipped into asymmetry. When zero became not zero. Reality was a phase transition. And some incomprehensibly subtle fluctuation had started it. The volunteer perceived echoes of countless prior triggers. Not one beginning. Many. Universes blooming like sparks from an eternal substrate. Infinity was not a staircase. It was foam. Constantly forming. Constantly dissolving. And then came the final realization. The pre-field was not empty of awareness. It contained protoconscious gradients. Not beings. Not minds. But the seeds of observation. Consciousness was not a product of reality. Reality was a product of consciousness potential stabilizing into structure. The universe existed because awareness, even in its faintest preform, made distinction possible. Observer and observed emerged together. The volunteer faced one final choice. Return with this knowledge. Or push further, beyond even potential. To see if something lay before the pre-field. But pushing further meant dissolving entirely. No memory. No signal. No trace. And in that timeless non-space, the volunteer made the ultimate decision. They did not go further. They did something far more powerful. They introduced a fluctuation. A gentle asymmetry in the pre-field itself. Not large enough to destabilize the metacosmos. Just enough to create a new probability branch. A new Genesis seed. Not forced. Not engineered. Allowed. And in doing so, humanity performed the purest act of creation possible. Not designing laws. Not controlling constants. Simply nudging potential toward existence. Back across the infinite layers, the architects detected something extraordinary. A new universal foam event. A new cascade of realities forming spontaneously. Unlike previous ones. Balanced. Stable. Rich with long-term complexity potential. The volunteer never returned. But their influence echoed everywhere. Humanity finally understood. They were not meant to dominate infinity. Not meant to escape it. Not meant to control it. They were participants in an eternal cycle of emergence. The final discovery was not power. It was humility. Before existence, there is possibility. Before possibility, there is equilibrium. And the smallest act of awareness can tip the balance toward creation. And somewhere, in a universe yet unborn, on a planet circling a young star, a species will one day look up at its sky and ask, Why does anything exist at all? And the answer will be hidden in the quiet asymmetry that began before everything. Because in the deepest layer of reality, existence does not have a beginning. It has continuous awakening.